The Jedi News Interview. Mark Newbold interviews Anthony Daniels. Now, we mentioned Jar Jar earlier on, and obviously you did that episode of the Clone Wars. Gungan General, I think it was. Oh, Bombad Jedi, which I haven't laughed so much in ages. I thought you were a fantastic double act. I really, really did. Did you enjoy doing that one? It must have been hilarious.
I'm really pleased you said. Apparently, it's been very, very popular.
Yeah.
I'm really glad you say that because Dave Filoni, the director, is just terrific.
Yeah.
He is. We have such a laugh.
Yeah.
But what you probably don't realise is that I'm all by myself.
Of course, you record in London, don't you?
I record in London. I go to a studio in Wardour Street, and generally at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, which it means we have time to work before my voice gets tired.
Yeah.
But it is also late enough in the day that it's breakfast time in California.
Yeah.
So they have to get up real early, because if I did anything later, it wouldn't be so good. And often there's a whole team of them over there, and there's just me in London with an engineer, kind of winking at each other as we go along.
Yeah.
And I talk to Dave over a headset, and we record the lines in London, and then I post it up onto an HTTP site, and Lucasfilm pull them off the air, and they go on to film, get animated, and occasionally we do it to picture, but mostly with animation you do the voice first.
Yeah, yeah.
But the other day, we did have a very beautiful sequence on film.
Oh, right.
And I was actually able to add things to it because I was looking at the picture and saying, oh yeah, but look how that guy just walks straight in front of 3PO.
Yeah.
They're bumping into each other. So we put 3POs in the pardon me, get out of my way.
Yeah.
You can play around that way. But I am thrilled that the thing with Jar Jar works so well because, humour is very important to these movies.
Yes.
If it's all Jedi mind stuff, tiresome.
It would get very dull, yeah. Yeah. But that episode's just jumped out because I think, especially with Jar Jar, he had such a rough ride as a character, and Ahmed, the poor guy, had such a rough ride as an actor. To see Jar Jar come into a situation like that and play off 3PO, who's got that comic touch anyway, it was brilliant. I love that episode.
Ahmed Best is one of the nicest people who works on these films,
yeah.
And he's a tremendously clever actor.
Yes.
And he did exactly what George asked him to do.
Yes.
And he did it brilliantly. The fact that it made people's teeth shudder,
yeah,
was not his fault.
No. I think Hayden got a similar rough ride with episode 2 in that George wanted that stroppy, snotty teenager, and he played it to a T, and yet he seemed to get the backlash. It must be frustrating.
Hugely.
As an actor, if you're doing exactly what you're asked and paid for and requested to do, and you take the flak for doing your job.
They will always blame the actor because a lot of people aren't quite clear, people who aren't actors or whatever.
Yeah.
Why should they know what a director does or what a producer does? But it is the director who will often help an actor mould his performance in the way of the whole film. So an actor generally is looking at his own role, whereas the director is looking at the whole movie. And if somebody decides, I need a stroppy teenager here, I need the teenager, I need the strop, then the actor has to do it. Hayden, if I think Ahmed Best is terrific, my views on Hayden are just, way over the top. He's kind of like a lot of actors should be around.
Yeah.
He's very, very modest, and he's very talented. And a bit like Ahmed, maybe that film wasn't where that's going to come out, but other films, I'm sure they will, and as their careers progress, we'll see other things.
Yeah.
But Ahmed did seem to unite the planet, and indeed the galaxy, in a fear and loathing of rather sort of long-mouthed, floppy things.
Yeah.
But you see, nobody talks about that strange Bob Nast or Condé Nast or something. It was a big fat Gungan thing.
Boss Nast, Brian Blessed's character.
Boss Nast, they
That's
always
it.
right?
Yeah.
So many characters in these movies, I forget.
Yeah.
I mean, what was that about?
Yeah.
So, anyway. But
I think-
everybody picked on Jar Jar. And I think Ahmed was... I've never spoken to him about it, and I wouldn't speak for another actor, but if it had been me, I would have been hurt.
Yeah.
It would take some balls to ignore it, you know. I've met him since, and he's been perfectly fine.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's huge talent.
Do you think that's something, though, as an actor, as you move through different roles? And you've done plenty of different roles. I mean, I've got a little list. Obviously, you were in Prime Suspect, most famously. Vampire Motorcycle, which I remember watching years ago.
We had a reunion the other day. I hadn't watched it for 100 years. It was actually rather good. We had such a laugh.
Yeah.
Anyway, roles, you know, you take them because you need the work or you really like one.
Yeah.
The ones you really like never pay. The ones you do.
I've heard that before. Yeah.
Irritating. But you know, Alec Guinness told me that when he played Adolf Hitler on stage, he got a lot of hate mail.
Yeah.
Because people find it very difficult to dissociate a piece of art from reality sometimes.
Yeah.
They tend to be people with their eyes rather close together, in my opinion. But, you know, like in Hollywood now, there's a problem with the reader because people are saying, how can, what's her name?
Kate Winslet.
Kate Winslet play a Nazi person without any visible regret.
Yeah.
Because that's the character. It's like,
Exactly. Yeah, it's acting, isn't it?
watch it.
Yeah.
Follow the story. You know, see her face utterly bewildered
Yeah.
when it's pointed out she could have unlocked the door and let all these people out rather than burn to death. But she goes, but it would have been chaos. It would have been everywhere.
Yeah.
That is the mindset of that kind of person.
Absolutely.
Kate Winslet is not that person. She was pretending to be a person like that. She
Yes.
was acting.
Yes.
You know, some people really need to sort their thoughts.
Open their eyes a bit. Yeah.
It's a very good film, and she gets a terrific performance.
Yes.
I didn't like the Titanic.
Yeah, it was very much of its time. I think Titanic. You look back at it now, and it was almost like a zeitgeist film, wasn't it? It was that was the film for that time. But now it's Sunday afternoon.
Yeah. So you see, I don't like everything, but
No.
you know, I hope she gets an Oscar.
So do I.
If she doesn't, it will be partly down to the slightly brainless quality of some of her critics.
Agreed. Well, going back to that sort of Titanic era, obviously Episode 1's 10 years old now. 10th anniversary of that film.
Is it?
It is. May 19th this year. Of
Really?
course, you made it in 97 mostly, didn't you? The filming of it was before that. But with it being that 10th anniversary year now, what are your memories and do you have a fondness for that film, bringing everybody back to do new movies? How did it feel being back on a Star Wars set?
Well, my involvement in Episode 1 was really quite limited because I had this meeting with, famously, I told the story where I had this meeting with George and at a Legion, and he said, you know, rather than 3PO, because he's made by Anakin Skywalker, and I thought, oh, that's really nice because I got on so well with Alec Guinness.
Yeah.
Really nice that he made 3PO. And then, of course, I eventually, the next day, realised,
Yeah.
he gets the one, isn't he? Yes. And then, you know, puppet, and the person who made the puppet was given, which was immensely heavy, was given the job of puppeteering. And I just did voice now and again, and the voice all through post-production. So I was on the set sometimes, mostly it was post-production in the studio. And I thought the puppet was just magical.
Yes.
Think about making him the inside of a machine.
Yeah.
And he was completely weird. And I think, you know, for George to write the line, you know, I'm not sure this planet is entirely stable.
Yeah.
3PO. I think with him, it's the fact that he wobbles.
Yes.
The entire planet is at fault.
He was like a Thunderbird puppet.
We call 3PO transference thought there. In the second film, what was that called? Whatever that's called.
Attack of the Clones.
I wanted to be more connected to the character and
Yeah.
do puppetry for myself, and that, you know, that was a great upside. And I really, you know, toned up my muscles to carry this hugely heavy thing around on my shoulders and head and knees and everything. And we shot the whole thing as the puppet. including the scene where Padme walked in and, 3PO was feeling a bit sad and explained that it was kind of difficult being this way.
Yeah.
And she goes, not a problem. And he was very nice about Anakin, and he had to go to my time to finish it, but it was a bit difficult.
Yeah.
After having rushed up on Act 1 and said, hey, you're naked. And she dressed him, she found some bits and she dressed him up.
That's right, yeah.
Fortunately, sadly, we had to lose all those bits.
Yeah.
Because that side of the storyline, there wasn't time, thought George. It was too soft and romantic and, well, a bit moving, really.
Yeah.
And, the scene where 3PO, Don B's was brilliant because we had a special rig of me in I had the special rig where she approached with a chest piece at the end of that act, and then you came back and she was just putting the face on, and I only was wearing the eyes, and Don had made it so with fridge magnets that she could stick the face on it instead.
Oh, clever.
And 3PO was just ecstatic.
Yeah.
The first time he was whole, he was complete, he was real. And all that got cut out.
It's a shame.
And I had to go back and do everything as the rusty puppet, as the rusty suit.
Yeah.
Which is actually the gold suit painted rusty.
All right.
On green screen, so I had to remember everything I'd done.
Yeah.
You do it. And you can't tell.
No.
But I was sorry that sequence got left out, because you saw him a bit into the background of 3PO, why he might be a bit nervous and so on. But George and I were the only ones to be back in the desert, and from the original, and it was weird because it was like strange time travel thing.
Yeah.
It was very moving, actually.
I was going to say, it must have been quite surreal.
Pardon?
It must have been quite surreal to be back there in that same location.
Because the hole in the ground was still there.
Yeah.
So they orientated the whole set around that again.
Yeah.
So it was like never having been wet.
Yeah.
And, being so many years older, it was weird.
Yeah.
And then the corridor set also gave me a bit of a stomach turn.
Of course.
In Australia, George and I had last seen this in Elstree in 1976.
Yeah.
Oh no, we've had it for no, that was the only time we used it, wasn't it? The original white corridor set.
Yeah.
So that was strange, yeah.
There must have been lots of little moments when you had deja vu making these new films, because they do kind of reference back to the original. Well,
definitely.
That must have really made you step back a couple of times.
Yes, it did. It literally just stops you. Or, when suddenly Ewan McGregor would give a line in a way that I believe that's how Alec would have said it.
Yes.
At that age. That was weird. And of course now, for some years now, people, oh, you were in Star Wars. Were you Obi-Wan Kenobi? Because I'm now old enough to play Alec's role.
Yeah.
That was weird, meeting new people who were who were playing the younger selves.
Yeah.
That and Ewan especially, and of course the funny thing with him and with Sam Jackson, two of the most famous people now, I think.
Sure.
Both, maybe you actually be in the scene, but be in a movie with Sam Jackson. How about that? Both of them were childishly, schoolboyishly thrilled to be in a scene with C-3PO.
Yes.
Because they'd grown up with him.
Yeah.
And even George on day one of any of these shoots, as a tradition, I and Don Bees fix it so that I arrive on set dressed up rather than walking as me and then get dressed. And George always says, Star Wars has arrived.
Yes. That must be lovely.
It's so gratifying. It's a tiny gesture and it means a lot.
It's always the little gestures that make the difference, isn't it? It's in life in general, I think.
Yeah, and the reaction to 3PO on the set when people actually see an icon walk in.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird. And you see on their face, because they can't see me, but
No.
They relate. And they know him very well.
Yeah.
They're very familiar with him. And then we go through the usual, everyone wants a picture, which is really nice.
Yeah.
And then we get on film.
Is it quite a relaxed set? Does George run quite a relaxed set? Obviously, it's got to be organised because of the technical.
No, it's relaxed, but it's lickety-split. I mean, there's no... You can't afford to waste time. Every minute costs a lot of money. Every 60 seconds, the bill is going up and up. So you can't, bits fall off the costume.
Yeah.
That's a bore.
Yeah.
Because they've got to be stuck on, and that's wasting time and money.
Did the costume change much between 77 and when you finished Revenge of the Sith? Was it a similar?
Same costume, and there are a number of costumes. I think I had six originally, but they break all the time, and we found ways of strengthening them. And because day one of 76, the costume wasn't ready. It didn't work. It didn't fit it together in itself, let alone fit me. And gradually, we've had to bodge our way through, and there's a few scenes where it's held together with nylon thread or tape or something. And certainly in the original, it often fell apart during a scene, or the eyes would go out. Funnily enough, I was talking yesterday to Brian Lofthouse, who looked after me for all three of the original movies.
All right,
Maxi, and it was just I haven't spoken to him for ages, and we instantly got into telling stories to each other. Do you remember the bit when, and I was saying how much I had relied on him.
Yeah.
Because I'm like a baby in a pram. I need, just a baby. Can't do anything for myself.
Yeah.
Including, and I reminded him, I said, the most loving thing he ever did, which I had to ask him to do.
Yeah.
Because when I was telling the storytelling scene in the Ewok village, I had such a bad cold that I said to him through the mask, when you take my mask off, can you blow my nose? And he held up, a handkerchief. I blew my nose, wiped it. He, without his loving affection, I couldn't have done it.
No.
And it's the same with Don B's now. It's like I rely on people outside.
Yeah.
And people are very, very solicitous. What happened very quickly, the original set, was that, however, the magic I appeared on the first day, and art came and talked to me personally, like, Anthony, that's incredible. You just look fantastic, great performance. Day 2, day 3, they'd completely forgotten I was in there. So it was like, they accepted 3PO for 3PO, and they forgot that, maybe I would like to take a break.
I'd heard that when you finish certain takes, they'd kind of put you on a trolley jack and wheel you away. And
the idea was to, because walking in that suit is not comfortable.
No.
Better to save your energy for the takes.
Yeah.
And I couldn't sit down. And of course now, because it's Tom Beasley so good at it, and we made little fidgets in the costume and stuff.
Yeah.
But now it's easier to take it on and off.
Yeah. That's
not such a big deal.
Is it true that somebody once taped your eye holes up?
Yes. That's why Ralph Nelson, the stills photographer.
Ralph Nelson, yeah.
Very well known. I still have to get him back.
You do?
I don't know. He just kept me laughing the whole time on the set.
Yeah.
Just one time, suddenly, and of course there's nothing I could do about it, and I try and get him back something. At one point he poured water down my leg. Oh, I know how he got him back. Absolutely. He was asleep on the set of the thing that the Ewoks blow up, or we blow up, I can't remember.
Oh, the bunker, yeah.
The bunker.
Yeah.
And he actually was in the chair and he was asleep. So I got first of all I took a photograph on his camera.
Yeah.
The big cameras that they use, living proof. And then I got the special effects people to rig up some squibs under his chair, little explosions.
Yeah.
And that worked. And that's when he poured water down my leg. But the eyes on, and would you believe, this you won't know, that on the last movie in Australia, there I was on the set. It must have been some kind of spacecraft, because I was sitting down.
Yeah.
And Don brought up the last bit to go on is the mask, and he sort of, held it, and I was looking at 3PO's face. And then he sort of went on and put it on me, and I couldn't see a thing. Ralph was taped up on the inside. In fact, I'm going to email him himself.
That's evil.
I still owe him for that one.
Lack of respect.
The guy is a very one point, I said to him, your job is so. He said, okay, here's a camera. And in fact, in one of the action scenes around the bunker, I tried to take pictures.
Yeah.
He took probably about 60. I took 1. Everyone was moving about.
Yeah, keep still.
Not taking pictures. So that was. He was a delight. He is a delight. I see him when I'm in LA.
Yeah.